So again, welcome everybody to the high-tech track. We will have Aquatic Autonomous Solutions first here for half an hour. At 2 o'clock we'll have Dream Tech. At 3 o'clock Bite Size, and at 3:30 Bussy Buddy. Before we get started, I did want to just take a minute and introduce the 5 judges that are here. We're starting with Ted Barnard. From Health Systems Professional Consulting. Actually
from Leidos Consulting.
Okay.
Under the health consulting division.
And then we have Chris Clement, our very own Vice President of Finance and Administration from the University of New Hampshire. And we have Mike Morneau. Good French name, right?
Right.
And he is a Senior Practice Director of H5 and President and CEO of Odor Gladiator. And next we have Robert McLeod. McLeod?
Yep.
That's a Scottish name, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's an old movie about that. I see it. Yeah, exactly right.
And he's a managing partner at Lexington Partners. And on the end we have Sebastian Titz, and he is manager of new ventures at 3M New Ventures. So welcome, judges. Thank you very much. And with that, our timer is it Corey?
Yes.
Okay, so Corey will be giving 3, 2, 1 minute signs, and then a stop, and then at the stop that prompts me to get up. But I don't know if we're going to need to do that. He will do that both for the 10 minutes presentation that the teams will have, and also to give the judges a sense of time with the 15 minutes of questions. If there is extra time when the judges are done, they'll have some time to take notes and deliberate. And I said after this we'll take a break, and we'll start with the next one at 2 o'clock. So I have 1:15, a little bit after 1:15, so we should go to about 1:45.
Awesome.
All right.
So, thank you.
Take it away, T.
Alrighty, so hello everyone. I'm Milo Whitaker. I am a finance major here at Paul College.
Hi guys, I'm David Perella, senior mechanical engineering major and business administration minor.
I'm Tim Pinella. I'm a senior mechanical engineering major here.
My name is Aaron Connolly. I'm also a senior mechanical engineering major.
And we are Aquatic Autonomous Solutions. Now, before I go any farther, I'd just like to say that we're really thankful for getting this far in the competition. This whole process has kind of really made a lot of ideas more possible than they at first seemed, and we've really progressed as a team the whole process. So, with that being said, we'd like to show you guys a little introduction video just to show you kind of what we're about.
Only 14 ships searched for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. What if there were more? We know more about the surface of Mars than we do the seabed topography in our own economic zones? What if we were able to find undiscovered resources and exploit them? What if the Navy didn't need to put American lives at risk every time they wanted to track a suspicious vessel? And what if oil containment booms could be deployed more rapidly and more affordably? Enter the autonomous surface vehicle.
So an autonomous surface vehicle, you can think of it as Google's self-driving car, but on the water. It has no required human input. It knows where it is at all times. It can make decisions for itself and complete missions without any human being controlling it or giving it commands. And we essentially want to just take human input out of all of that and make it fully robotic, fully autonomous, and fully self-driving. So our mission is to bring cheap autonomous capabilities to customers and allow them and specifically tailor each different module for each different industry need. So the fishing would be different from the Navy per se, and mapping would be different from oil field.
So what is our actual product? What we are selling as a company is a control module box that you can put onto any existing vessel and give that vessel the ability to be driven by remote control or to be self-driving. And we call that box Mach 1, or the Modular Autonomous Control Hub. Our initial product, we've already developed it. We've been here at the University of New Hampshire for the last 3 years as a research team, and we've received funding from the US Navy and from the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration has worked with us. And we have developed a working module and have proven that it works on 2 different size vessels. This one on the left is a 4-foot long remote control boat we put the module on. The other one is an 8-foot long bass fishing boat that we've already gotten driving and doing ocean mapping capabilities on its own in a lake nearby. Our future is that we will be building multiple product lines with every module being tailor fit for a specific industry, whether it's the fishing industry, whether it's the US government, whether it's ocean mapping, whether it's the energy industry, etc. And we will also expand from not just the production and installation of our units, but into full lifecycle support. So we'll be servicing these units, decommissioning these units, and even doing consulting services to companies who are trying to do something similar to what we're doing.
So right now, the ASV market is estimated, well, in 2013 to be about $250 million. That's globally. Now, most of the competition out there, like Liquid Blue and ASV Global, they offer research vessels for somewhere around $250,000 to $500,000 a model for their lower priced ones. What we're planning on doing is offering a model that will revamp an existing boat for 16 grand. It's considerable cost savings. And we think along with being able to take a lower part of the market that's more cost dependent, we will actually also be able to bring in newer market buyers who originally couldn't afford autonomous capabilities. Now our first targets are NOAA and the US Navy. We think that our cost saving will especially be relative to NOAA, and especially since they spend a lot of money on hydrographic research, making maps of the ocean floor, and it costs them a lot of money to put people out on these boats. It actually averages about 30 grand per day to get a fully manned ship out on the ocean. Now, with half that cost, they could upgrade a vessel and have it stay out longer than a manned ship could, while not paying any of the labor expenses.
So our plan, we see ourselves starting year 1 out of a small office space in New Hampshire, simply because that's where we're all from, we're all from the New Hampshire area. And after looking at the cost that it's been in raw materials to build our existing modules, factoring in labor time, and that's not just the install, but a lot of debugging and troubleshooting, as well as then factoring in time for installation and travel to installation sites in the greater New England area, we found the cost to produce and install one unit to be $7,777. If we're selling that unit at $16,000 a unit, we break even at 3.5 modules per year in year 1. We then see ourselves, if we are able to penetrate as well into the market as we hope in that first year, to move to a larger factory setting, and our break even in that setting would be 17.2 modules per year in year 2, and as we improve our efficiency, that drops to 14.8 modules per year in year 3.
So this is a graph of our revenues to expenses by month for the first 3 years that we planned out. Now you can see in the first year, our revenues are do increase over our expenses, but by the time we implement these upgrades to our facilities in year 2, we will be able to make our revenue growth much higher than it was in first year. The best part of this plan is that we can gauge this all on how the market is actually working towards us. So if we decide that it's not quite time to upgrade, we don't have to deal with those extra costs and higher break-even points.
This graph here shows our cash flows, our cash in green, our cash out in red, and then our excess cash in white. And this is our cash flow for the first 3 years. So we understand as a business that even if we're profitable, we might go out of business if we can't meet our cash demands. We have to be able to pay our bills. And so we understand that. So how we're financing ourselves is we have a $100,000 private investment to begin, as well as a $60,000 bank loan to increase our liquidity at the start. And then you can even see that in our first few months of operation, we have more cash going out than coming in. That's because we plan that if we're marketing ourselves to the US government and to NOAA to begin, those buyers might take a long time in paying. So we've estimated that we have 3 months turnaround on our accounts payable to cash. And you can see that after those first 3 months, we start to have cash coming in, and we quickly have more cash coming in than cash going out. And then as we ramp up our production, our cash coming in is a lot more than our cash going out. You can see that there's that massive growth in excess cash. We have that listed simply because we're not quite sure yet how we would be reinvesting that. So we're just listing that now as excess cash, and we wouldn't just leave that cash sitting in the stock market. We would be investing it and leveraging it to further forward the company. So with that, thank you very much for hearing us. We are a good investment because we take the existing technologies that are around us and combine them in a unique asset or a unique application that's never been done before. We greatly cut costs from the existing solutions out there, and we will change the future of the maritime industry. Questions?
I do, I had one. Great presentation, gentlemen. Being an ME graduate from UNH, this is near and dear to my heart as well. One of the questions I have is, what's your USP? What's your unique selling point of your product versus the competitor? I think you had it was about 500K for the competitive product, and yours is going to be around 16K. What's your unique selling point versus the competition?
So the competition sells you an autonomous boat. What we would do is we would take your existing boat and make it autonomous.
So you retrofit.
Yeah.
You put Mach 1 on it, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's the same strategy that the Air Force is using on there to keep our aerial fleet really updated and high tech. It's a lot of old planes with new technology on them, giving them more capabilities. So it's the same thing applied to boats.
Perhaps I missed it somewhere, but what does Mach 1 do? Does it just get the position and put the control output out, or does it actually move the rudder and...
So it actually moves the rudder and the steering. And basically Mach 1, we've developed it so far to have 3 different capabilities. It can drive from point to point, know where the boat is, and decide for itself the best way to get to its next desired point. It can be aware of its surroundings, avoiding obstacles, and it can recognize targets in its area, whether that target is a person in the water who's drowning and needs help, or whether it's a pirate ship off the coast of Somalia. And it can keep track of that target and report back its data. And we can tailor fit as we go on higher level behaviors for the boat to be able to do anything for itself.
I think I read in the presentation that you talked about LiDAR as your ability to run that autonomously. In your 7,777 cogs, are you including LiDAR in that?
We are. That's actually our biggest cost.
The biggest cost.
Well, I would say so, and I'm a little bit concerned about that.
We actually have our breakdown of our per unit cost right here, and all of these other components are very, very low expense. The microcontrollers are incredibly low cost. The LiDAR, you can see there is $6,000, so it's by far the most expensive unit in our whole.
Well, and I'm sorry to take another question, but what I don't see on here is any indication of what the spec is going to be from the United States Navy, because you can get a GPS off the shelf, but that won't cut it if you're selling it with the Navy or getting it past regulatory requirements for some commercial.
Our thought is that with our current module, we're providing the sensors, but if you're taking an existing Navy vessel that most likely has a GPS on it already, we can interface with the Navy's existing sensors and things like that.
Okay, all right.
So is it a one-size-fits-all solution, or do you have to customize it for each vessel you're trying to retrofit?
It depends. This box is a one size fit all for any vessel that wants the basic capabilities. If you said you wanted higher level capabilities, we could design a box that would fit those needs. But this box can be plugged onto any size vessel and make that vessel self-driving.
Another question. So what's your plan B? Let's say that you have a vessel that's out there. We use your Somalia ship example. You have a vessel that's out there going towards the Somalia ship, and something happens, because invariably it will, right? Murphy's Law. What do you do? How do you get the vessel back? How do you safeguard against the vessel being taken or whatever? I'm sure you've thought that through, right?
Yeah.
So in the specific pirate situation, we've thought about programming in defensive orders where you would get registry from a human controller on a larger network. It alerts them kind of like a security system. There's a unidentified boat approaching. What action should I take? And then there's both aggressive and defensive maneuvers, which we've thought of just sporadic turning, avoiding. For larger vessels, such as if we were to expand into shipping or anything over 100 feet, we would imagine that there would be maybe one crew on board.
Okay.
The beauty of this autonomy is that it's basically a switch. So you can turn it off autonomous, you can turn it on autonomous, turn it on remote control. So it's very versatile.
Yeah. And so if for some reason the system, even if there's no power, the system starts going haywire, we have remote control capability that, like you said, it's a switch and it disengages the autonomous capabilities and it's back in human control.
Quick question, did you do any investigation on already existing autopilot systems and autonomous autopilot systems that currently exist for boats from 25 feet up in that range? Really, for a long time now, there's been quite a bit of electronics available for self-navigating systems. What makes this a cost-effective alternative to simply retrofitting a simple system on top of the already existing autonomous systems or autopilot systems that exist for most boats?
The difference is with autopilot, you're not going to have the object identification and avoidance maneuvers. It won't have that capability to think for itself. It's more point to point, which is our first layer, but then we build on top of that with the object identification and avoidance maneuvers and target tracking.
Right, the question is, most boats above a certain size today are autopilot equipped. They come already set, they're ready to go. Why would you go and build all of that underneath? What you are offering is basically the guidance and intelligence on top of what is already existing in the industry, in the autopilot industry. That's been there for 25 years.
What's great about our software that is on here is that it's a very versatile software where it can be marketed to any industry. So it's one thing to have autopilot, but to have a system that not only can do autopilot, but can operate all of your sensors, send you all of the information, and can think for itself and make decisions on, okay, you told me you wanted me to do ocean mapping, and I'm mapping the ocean floor, and I am understanding as a robot what my depth readings are and how they're changing. I can think for myself how to avoid that. So you don't have to, it's one thing to have autopilot, it's another thing to have an autopilot that can understand sonar readings and avoid going too close when it's trying to map the whole area of the ocean floor. Or any SWAT, there's so many behaviors we can program into this. It's the versatility that comes with our software.
Another beautiful thing that we came up with the larger boats as well is that those autopilot mechanisms, we can directly interface, which would potentially lower our costs for production.
That was the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
What, the money that came from the Navy, where did that come from in the Navy?
It's a part of a grant. We got a grant under the Naval Engineering Education Consortium. We have a contact out on the West Coast, Dr. Martin Rankin. He's with the Naval Undersea Warfare Center in Keyport, Washington. And it was through him, it's under Naval Sea Systems Command and then through the Naval Engineering.
But it's not through one of the research labs, not through the Navy labs down in DC, or it's not through DARPA or anything along those lines?
I don't think so. Also, I don't have, our advisor might have better information for that than I know. Where all the money directly came from.
What prevents competitors from fast following it?
Well, our initial coding, we're working on getting patents with UNH Innovation, but at the moment we're thinking that that will be protected under trade secrets because we will use contracts to service the whole mechanism, the Mach 1. So we're hoping that for the time being, those will be protected. No one has actually in the market started making these retrofitted sensors. There's only one other person who's working on making a cost-effective, low-cost, autonomous surface vehicle, which is Scout from the MIT labs. And we've considered a lot of them, but once again, that's a completely new vessel, and they're only in the prototype phase.
In your, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So guys, this is a cybersecurity question. Let's say that, again, you have a ship out there and the bad guys hack in and then turn the ship around and send it back to mainland U.S. as a a bomb or a missile. How do you stop that?
So that's a
Sure,
great
you thought
question.
that through, right?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
As we run it currently, there's actually no internet access whatsoever to the boat. The software program we're running through a local hotspot network that just connects you to another hotspot network, and there's no connection to the World Wide Web. So unless the hacker was on our secure network, they wouldn't be able to get into the system. As far as I understand the hacking, you need to be able to use the World Wide Web to get in. And we would, as we go further, it's something we're going to look more into and to get people more well versed in cybersecurity to help us out with that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Going to your financial models, how many people would work for the company and not on the hourly staff that you list here, but as a fixed employees, and did you factor that cost in? Because at the beginning it seems very low monthly cost for at least 4 people on the stage right now.
Right. So in the first year, we factored in the 3 engineers, and within the first year, I would kind of be working part-time, not even. Mostly the main idea of the first year is to get products and get them to the contacts which we already have in NOAA, and generate a certain amount of revenue profitability. After that, the second year, that's where we get our spike in expenses. Not only do we have increased production capabilities, but nearly double our staff of engineers. We typically put their pay on work time, and then the 2 marketing people that we plan to hire to contact other potential buyers, we have as a salary of $48,000 a year.
For us engineers, we decided that because we want the site to be as successful as possible, we accepted $50,000 a year. We thought that was reasonable. All 3 of us are making $0 a year right now as students, so we understand that might be a bit low for like actual living cost, but we are planning on trying to operate based on that.
I think what he's getting at is if we look at your hourly rate of $25, what it's not taken into account is fringe benefits, which is an added 25 to 30% depending on where you are.
39 if you're at university.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Well,
what I was getting at is that
not gonna
the
do
financial models doesn't show what the overhead the company has.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to mention also, because your hourly rate there is extraordinarily low, right? Extraordinary
Yeah.
from what we do in the industry as an electronics tech. If I'm traveling in the field for any reason, you've got to figure in, you're going to lose 8 hours of my travel time, you're going to lose 8 hours of my return time. You've got to pay for that. That's all built into your costing. Your overhead has got to be taken into account. When you start to lay out your labor costs to somebody who's looking at this seriously, they can look at that and go, there's no way you're going to do that.
And as a general comment, I think it's easier to start with a higher price and let people negotiate it down than trying to sell it cheap in the beginning and then get more expensive.
Right. Yeah.
As an investor, I'm always interested in the exit. Kind of early to ask that question, but how am I getting my money back in this venture?
So our initial, if things were to go, actually, Mike, you want to take this question?
Yeah, so basically, within our 3-year plan, we didn't really consider the exit strategy. We just figured in those 3 years, we are trying to grow the business as large as we can. And then after that, we can reevaluate our mission and decide whether or not we want to sell off to a larger business, there are actually quite a few businesses who do just not ASVs, but unmanned maritime vehicles in general. Much larger market, and there's plenty of companies that might possibly be a potential buyer.
So I think that's good. My comment to that would be, and it's not clear that it's necessarily on their criteria, but as you think about prospectively real investors, giving some thought to that.
Yeah.
So if you can, I do agree, I think an M&A is probably the way this would go, right?
Get one contract,
Exactly.
knocking on your door.
So I think if you could name 2 or 3 who are sort of in the space, et cetera, it tells a good story.
Right.
Yeah, that was my last question.
One
There
more,
was-
one more question. How do you get in and out of a harbor? Because I think that is the most complicated navigational thing on a boat. The rest is.
We would think that you could, if you're applying to shipping, Merchant Marine tends to drive, they're the ones who are familiar with the harbor, so they tend to drive you in and out of the harbor. If we weren't comfortable with our net obstacle avoidance system, would be able to handle it, but if you wanted to, you could undo the switch, return manual control, and Merchant Marine could take you in, and then just allow autonomous driving for across the long traverse of the ocean.
That is actually one of the biggest concerns with the market in general is there's not very many laws on unmanned maritime vehicles, and it's kind of being developed as we speak.
Where'd you get the $250 million for the market size? Last
For the
one, I
market
guess.
size.
So we got
That
that
seems
from Charles River Analytics. It was
Is that the current market or the proposed?
that was in
forecast?
2013.
And that was
So-
the
It's
autonomous-
very hard to find a definite market size. You want to go to that
Yeah.
back the other way? Yeah, you go along to the end. So this is what unmanned maritime vehicles are. As you can see, there's a lot of different branches of this larger industry, and usually the number that they give is for this whole industry. So it's very hard to
250 seems
compartmentalize
low
it down.
for a worldwide opportunity.
250 was for autonomous surface vehicles.
Yes, that was the one number that we found directly for autonomous surf.
Yeah, so 250 was that section for autonomous surface vehicles. The full market of unmanned marine vehicles is like.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.